So I want to talk about our first big disagreement Melanie and I had. Now I used the phrase argument in the title because most people wouldn't, you can't really verbalize. We had a significant, difficult conversation slash disagreement. First off, it took almost 5 years. And this happened right before I left for Spain. And the surprising outcome. But after all the work I've done and becoming a coach, I still instinctually wanted to avoid the conflict. So it involved our dynamic, something we were working towards that I'd kind of put on the back burner. And she asked about it. Asked me, how come you haven't done X, Y, Z? And I got to tell you, my first instinct was to lie. Because it would have been easier. I could have avoided the whole conflict because the issue was going to resolve itself over time. Okay? And I really wanted to lie, except long ago, we've had lots of conversations, deep, sometimes a little challenging, but nothing like this. This is, again, most people would say this was an argument. It wasn't an argument. It was a very difficult conversation for both sides. And I promised her I'd never lie to her. So I told her the truth, knowing that on a Wednesday night when I'm leaving on Sunday, this could really fuck up the next 4 days. Okay? And it wasn't well received. And we talked about it. And I literally was thinking after the conversation, and I should, maybe Friday night I'll go play poker. Or Thursday night and get out of the house. Because when I was married previously, before I did all this work, I was conflict avoidant. I was the nicest nice guy when it came to conflict avoidance you've ever met. I'm a New Yorker. But a conflict with the wife, oh my God, it was pathetic. And I knew the conversation wasn't done on that Wednesday night. And I said, take your time. I know you're going to want to revisit this. I said, you get one more time to have this conversation. Because I'm not going to have this beating a dead horse every single day till I leave. Now, did I honestly think we could have one more conversation? No, but what I wanted her to do was be thoughtful in her evaluation of it, have another conversation. But what I didn't want was a conversation on Thursday, another one on Friday, and two on Saturday, because that was unacceptable. And then I would have gone and played poker. I'd have been like, fuck this. And we actually had a really good second conversation. And I pointed something out to her that she was doing that she didn't realize. She was only looking at it from one perspective, not completely ignoring mine. And it was funny, kind of enjoyable to watch her eyes get super big where she realized I was correct in what I was saying about that. We ended up having a really good conversation, and I explained my perspective again. And this wasn't about, she wasn't doing anything wrong. It was something I was working through that I became aware of. So said I wanted to do X, put it on the back burner because I suddenly realized, hey, in the past I required this for X. But I'd also never had this with a woman I loved and was married to. So this caused me to really kind of work through this. And I was in the process of this when she asked the question, which I was like, damn it, because this was all going to resolve itself. That's what was annoying, and why my first reaction was, if I lie, I can just not deal with this. So I continued to work on my stuff. She continued to work on her stuff. And here's the thing that people don't understand. If you can have these open and honest conversations, even when they're difficult, our relationship is better, stronger, and more connected than it's ever been. And my lawn guys are here. Never fails. So if you can't have difficult conversations with your partner, your relationship is only going to get weaker over time. Ours got stronger because of this conversation, and the issue resolved itself. And then the thing I put on the back burner will eventually become a done deal. And, you know, I liken it to the prenup conversation. James Sexton said it. You know, a lot of guys, when they're talking about the prenup, they go, oh, I can't talk to her about this. And he says, if you can't bring up and have a conversation about a prenup with your fiance, you're not ready to get married, because you have to be able to have these deep conversations in a marriage, in this kind of relationship. So are you able to have honest, deep, vulnerable conversations with your partner? Because let me tell you, it strengthens the relationship. It did for us. And if you'd have asked me beforehand, if you had this big issue come up, do you think it would strengthen your relationship? I'd be like, all I'd be focused on is how to avoid the big issue. Because, again, that's kind of how I was wired my whole life. But I fought that. And the thing was, that was my initial reaction, to lie, to want to flee. But I took that time to think about the question, to pause instead of giving a quick answer or reacting. And I responded from a loving, heart-filled place, and we're better off for it. And so did Melanie, to her credit. So, if you're struggling with things in the relationship, click on the link below if you want to have a conversation. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. But understand, you've got to be able to have these type of discussions with your wife, with your partner, if you want to continue to grow and nurture the intimacy and connection in your relationship. All right, guys, have a great day.